Art One-on-One with Mr. Burgher.
Welcome to Art One-on-One. I am your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist, master educator, and America's favorite art teacher, Mr. Burgher.
Here we are, poolside.
And I don't know if this was the most brilliant idea.
It's a little chilly, but it's not terrible.
It's not once you, it's fine now that we're in, but getting in today?
And, you know, it's poolside, we're kind of hanging, and I decided to keep my tank top on. To not be, too revealing to the public. Typically, I would not wear a tank top to the pool. I'm not that guy, but today I'm that guy. So anyway, in preparation for today being poolside, we decided to go with a cocktail from the Art Boozle book. And this time I decided to go with, I don't know if it was really even a decision that was mutually agreed upon, but...
Well, I said, let's do it in the pool, so I get to make that decision.
Right.
And so therefore you chose the drink.
And the drink that I went with was the Andy Warhol. There's a lot of labor in this one, a lot of little things to concoct and create syrups and whatnot to put together, and it's very, I would say, very vegetable heavy.
It smells amazing. Smell it.
Yeah. Smells great.
It smells amazing.
Go ahead and take...
It doesn't look good, though.
The
garnish is a tomato, so...
Yeah. Try it out. It's really not bad.
Ooh.
You can really taste
That is really good.
You can really taste the cucumber in it. I can.
I love cucumbers. I love tomatoes.
It's got a very sweet vegetable-y.
It is not what I anticipated at all. It's really good.
So, the drink that we went with was the Andy Warhol.
And so, we're going to talk a little bit about Andy Warhol.
Yes. I have made some content on Andy Warhol in the past. I've done a couple of shorts and a couple of, at least one long video.
I was going to say, I guess I only searched for one, thinking there was only one, but about a year ago, you created an Andy Warhol video. And
an interesting character. There are a lot of interesting things about Andy Warhol out there.
Well, I think what's interesting, one of the things that's interesting about him is that he was so, he was coming out as a gay person when it was against the law. Openly.
He was...
Correct?
Yes and no. I mean, it was kind of one of those weird times when he was... People that knew him knew that he was coming... He was kind of out, but at the same time, he was very private about his partners. He was very private about his sexuality. He was very private about all of those types of things.
He was kind of out there. His art was kind of out there. It was a new form of art for his time, right? Pop art?
Well, pop art was very emerging. He was kind of on the cusp of that. A lot of times he's given credit for developing pop art when he didn't really invent it. He just made it popular. He took it from where Robert Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns and some of those pioneers of pop art, Klaus Oldenburg is another one, and he took what they were doing and really pushed it to another level of popularity in the mainstream.
And what would you say differentiated him between the older artists that didn't obviously become as popular?
They're certainly popular in the art world, but not globally popular. Where Andy Warhol was at WrestleMania, Andy Warhol was going to Studio 54, Andy Warhol was hanging with the celebrities. They were making music at his art studio called The Factory. He was making movies, and he was making music, and he was doing all kinds of very interesting cutting edge things when Jasper Johns was just making paintings and whatever. But what really set him apart was, number one, his colors and his style became synonymous with the 1980s. You know, you look at anything from the Duran Duran Rio album to the way MTV emerged and that sort of thing. They were using Andy Warhol's style as this is what we want it to look like, and that's the way it went. You know, everything from the Air Jordan tennis shoes to everything in the world was kind of Andy Warhol-ish. The use of screen printing and those sorts of techniques also kind of established him as the guy.
Okay. And do you believe, I mean, just listening to you, I would say that it was also maybe he put himself out there more into the, you said, he had the fountain, is that what you said?
The fountain,
the factory.
The factory. The fountain was Marcel Duchamp.
The factory.
But the fountain was different than the factory. But
I was close.
But yeah.
But the factory.
Every artist has a studio, but his factory, he had lots of people working for him, and it was pretty easy to say.
It was a hangout place, though.
For sure.
Even more than a studio, correct?
When you got Mick Jagger hanging out on the couch, and you got, moves like Jagger.
Mm-hmm. That's what came to my mind when you said Jagger. Adam Levine. I could take him on the couch. Interesting things about him is like how he took, which is so funny. So we're starting a new episode, or not an episode. We're starting a new segment.
New segment.
Yes, and I don't know if we want to rename it.
Can I see the deck?
Yeah. We could just name it ARTalk, because that's what the name of the deck is.
ARTalk?
Yeah. So
the new segment is ARTalk, and this comes to us from these conversation cards, which it's been out on the market for a while, and came across these. And, one thing leads to another, and it becomes a segment.
Well, you handed them to me, and I kind of thought it was a joke looking at I don't know, kind of looks silly. But as I started reading the questions on here, I was like, oh, these are really interesting. And it would be fun to talk about. A little bit different than our Ask the Art Guides in the past, which we finished up last week. So, like we said,
it's more art talk.
Toy around with some things.
Than asking. It's more talk than asking the art guides. We're selecting one of the cards. I think there are 52 cards in the deck, and so we're going to have for the next 52. We'll have 52 segments of art talk.
Well, I don't know. I pulled a couple, so we might have.
Well, we need to have just one, lady. You got to choose one.
Well, I chose this one because we're talking about Andy Warhol. Here's the story on the card. During the 1950s and 60s, in a movement called pop art, artists used imagery from advertising, the media, and commercial products in their work. Andy Warhol produced multiple images of money, soup cans, and celebrities. He once said, "I paint things I always thought beautiful, things you use every day and never think about." So the question on the card is, what common objects...
The top part.
Yeah, well, the top part.
The talk
the discussion.
Of the, right.
Says, what common objects do you find beautiful and would inspire you to... I'm adding a little bit more. It would inspire you to create a piece of art around them. First of all, name off some of the things. So Campbell's soup was one of his... you would not think, who's going to create art? And that became very popular, the Campbell's soup.
The Campbell's soup was it was arguably his most famous, but he did pictures of cows and orangutans and zebras. He did Coca-Cola logos, Pepsi Cola logos, General Electric their logo.
He did do a lot of lots
of ad type logos that were very mainstream. He did a lot of different things like that.
So this is going to be hard. Think of an ordinary item that you would coin as beautiful, or it would inspire you to paint a piece.
Not you.
Not me.
Right.
No.
You're not an ordinary object that's beautiful to me.
That is okay. Well, that's probably accurate description, but
I don't know. Like there are
not a person.
There are lots of things that I think, like today we went on a little hike about a little junk shop.
Yeah.
That had lots of antiques and weird oddities and furniture and all kinds of different items. And, like there was this really cool old scoreboard probably from the 1950s. They wanted a big pile of money for a scoreboard. What are you going to do with the scoreboard? But, whatever.
Oh man, you could put that in the cool basement with a sports
I'm
theme happening.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, other
Right.
than hanging it on the wall, what are you going to do? Like, there are not a whole lot of people that have a gymnasium in their home that they're going to.
Right, but that's
whatever.
the point of repurposing.
But again, I think that like things like that are like just the design of things is pretty or interesting or unique. From furniture to toys, I really like toys.
You do like toys, which
I'm fascinated by toys and things like that, and neat woodwork and furniture, and there's way too many things to list. But what's the second part of the question?
that was the only part of the question. That was it. What ordinary things can you think of that would inspire you to make like great pieces of art?
Well, and when I work on some of my own pieces, as you know, I take old atlases that have very little resale value, if none, and I'll take those and cut the spines off and use the maps and use the pieces and the parts and the paper to create other pieces of artwork on. And those things, those maps, those old books and texts really inspire me. And I love old books. I love the old sharks. Old sharks in the pool. Boom, boom. I wanted to watch Jaws the other night. Speaking of beautiful things, I wanted to watch Jaws last night. Like, I'm not watching Jaws.
No. We watched Grease instead.
Which,
That's all right.
it was all right. Anyway, all kinds of different things like that, that do inspire. That do inspire me, like in real time.
Yeah, I can't think of any object, like ordinary objects, like that come to mind that would be similar to a soup can.
Well, yeah, not necessarily like so ordinary that you see it in the grocery store. Although there are certain things like clearly Canadian bottles, like the shape of a clearly Canadian bottle. There are some like neat alcohol type bottles and things like that. Like Revelton has like a really interesting shape to the bottles. The way they're cut and blown is interesting to me, and like things like that. That look kind of they're new, but they look a little old timey. In the design with the labels and the glass and how it all works together. I appreciate those types of things.
Do you think when he was creating like the Campbell soup cans, for instance, that he was like, "Oh, this is going to be my like"? Do you think any of those items, or do you think like he was just messing around with those, and probably wasn't going to put those out there? And then
he definitely was going to put them out there, but I don't know that he ever would have anticipated that those things would have gotten as mainstream popular as they became. I mean, it was like everybody was in love with the Campbell soup can. Everybody was in love with the Marilyn Monroe and the Elvis Presley and those kinds of things.
Did that happen during his lifetime or after
Sure.
his lifetime? Okay, so he became popular.
He was very, very popular.
There's so many times that the art does not become popular until people pass away, which is like
he was crazy popular. I mean, during his lifetime,
but near the second half, because he wasn't in the beginning. Like he struggled, and people struggled. Like people rejected him and his art. And
right. I mean, I think that's true of most artists, where they're trying to cut their teeth and get into the game and make it all work. But once he became relatively famous, relatively popular as an artist, relatively early in his career, it wasn't like from the time he was 12, he wasn't like Picasso, but, and he didn't live, he didn't live as long. I mean, there were lots of tragedies in his life and things that happened to him that weren't quite so glamorous, but as an artist, he did really well, and he was getting big time commissions and big time money to do a lot of the things that he was putting together.
The factory, his studio, he had more than one factory, right?
He had multiple.
Are those still around, like a place we could visit or no?
I don't know. I know that there is an Andy Warhol Foundation, but I do not know if they maintain any of those properties or if any of those properties are maintained as tourist sites or like for example, you can go to Jackson Pollock's house out in the country in upstate New York, and you can go out to this little tiny town where he lived, and you can go out to his little tiny studio where he worked, and you can take a look at the things that he did and look at the floorboards and see where the paint got dripped on the floor and where he actually worked and all of that. But I don't know that exists for Jackson Pollock, but I don't know that exists for Andy Warhol. And I'd love to go there.
That might have to be on our bucket list. Where did you say that was?
In New York.
Oh, New York does not sound good to me, though.
But it's not like I think a lot of times people think New York is all the city. This is out in the country.
Okay.
It's not like New York City. It's outside New York City in a it's a suburb of a suburb of a suburb of New York City. It's within driving distance of New York City, but it's definitely not New York City.
That would be a way to fund your art studio, really. If you want to have an art studio and not just have it be a place that people come for coffee or cocktails, or kind of like the architectural place that we were at today. Like They have this big, beautiful space, but I think to get people in the door, they have a little, coffee shop and cocktails and that ambiance of the cool pieces of furniture and art. And the only thing that comes to mind, and it's not anything ordinary, like something that would really inspire me that is pretty basic, would be like the stained glass windows and churches and this isn't close to what Warhol did, but the only ordinary thing that I can think of that just is very inspirational and very deep emotional that I would want to focus on and create more artwork from would be like the stained glass windows in the old churches or homes.
You know where we got to go then? San Chapelle.
Where?
San Chapelle.
Sand Chapelle? San.
As in, it's
like San Jose.
It's like French. So it's not spelled like that at all. But it's San Chapelle. It's Saint Chapelle. Oh. But it's pronounced San Chapelle. And it's this huge, it's not really a huge church, but it's they have these walls of stained glass, and it's all like purples and pinks and blues that just cascade through the stained glass windows. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's the most amazing cathedral I've ever been in, and it's just like a stone's throw from Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is kind of like the center of the city, and just down the way is San Chapelle, and it is absolutely fantastic. So New York and Paris, boom. We got our summer plans for next year.
Yeah, we'll maybe make it out of Iowa next year.
We made it out of Iowa this year, multiple times.
We did. With kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did with kids.
I think I would do the opposite, though. Like, I would use those windows to inspire, like, paintings of different things. Like, what do I think of okay, this is the intuitive, spiritual side of me. Like,
oh no,
where's that window been? Like, what story does it have to tell?
right?
That's what I would do.
Like the fact, like you go to the thrift place and find the stained glass window and try to figure out where it came from.
Mm-hmm. And then
the origin story.
Write whatever, yes, and then paint or write what came to mind with me.
So you're going to completely invent a origin story of.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You say that, but I'm pretty intuitive when it comes to people, so maybe I'll be intuitive when it comes to
objects.
Stained glass windows.
Could be.
You never know.
All right.
A little bit more on Andy Warhol, something I thought was interesting, and I think it's still very popular. I don't know because I'm not a big TikTok, Instagram person, but you talked about it in your video a little bit, the 15 minutes of fame comment he had. I just think that's so interesting that he truly thought that every person would get in their lifetime 15 minutes of fame.
Well,
I think that's such an interesting...
The thing is, I don't know if he truly believed that or not. He said it, but I don't know if he truly believed it. Like,
in what situation did he say it? Was he being interviewed? Was it?
I don't know the context of how he said it or why he said it, but I know he said it. It's a famous quote by Andy Warhol that in the future everybody's going to get their 15 minutes of fame. But again, I don't know. But it seems to be somewhat true in that in today's world, people can become famous for doing nothing. You know, like we watch these reality TV hookup shows that are compelling in a kind of... Well, but they are. But those shows are compelling in a kind of a twisted sort of way.
Well, I think it's just like people watching for me. Like these people get on here and think they're going to find love, and they fall in love with someone in 5 days or whatever they're there for. And I just think that's so... People are going to be, for the most part, people that... Maybe I'm being really judgy here, but... For the most part, people that are going on these shows are not going to be people that are going to genuinely show who they are and what they're about. If they're coming on that TV show and they their motivation is to have their love life
exposed to the public, or
I don't like. For me, love is a more private thing. Like, I'm going to talk to someone I love.
Yeah. Love is a private thing.
No, I mean... Okay, let me correct what I was saying. Like, in that situation, I'm going to want to have private conversations that I would never tell anyone on television with my partner before I chose to be with that person.
Right.
And so I would never choose to go on that show because of that. Now, you and I differ because this was like maybe you won't want to talk about this, but this was like an interesting situation that happened to you when you and I first kind of started talking. Remember this? Do you remember what happened with you? Like what you're thinking about doing?
I don't remember what you're talking. I don't know exactly.
Reality TV show.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that was when we first started talking. Most recently,
right?
Not when we first started talking historically.
Correct.
But yeah, there was a time when we were first starting to talk, a couple years back, and there was an opportunity for me to go on to a reality TV show. I'm not going to get into the nuts and the bolts of what the TV show is, but
it wasn't a love.
It wasn't a no. It had it was a competition strategy psychological game. And that was a point of contention between us at that particular time, because I said, I don't have anything going right now. I didn't have at that particular time. I didn't have a job. Not that was making me
right.
I had a job, but it wasn't like I had a salary type job or whatever. And I had. It was a time in my life that I could take a calculated risk and not feel like I was losing anything. I wasn't going to have to take a leave from work. I wouldn't have to quit a job. It was
I do think you have the personality for something like that.
Yeah, it would have been easy for me to do it at that particular time, more so than right now, or more so.
Well, for sure.
10 years prior to that.
But it was the beginning of our relationship,
right.
And I just said, if you go off and do this, I don't know that we'll continue to have a relationship. So,
right.
And I don't. Maybe that's not the right thing to say, but in my mind, you go do that, we separate. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I wasn't willing to. So, commit to a relationship with you when we just started.
Right. Well, and we were, and we weren't at that particular time. I mean, we were. Again, it was kind of an interesting.
Evolving.
It was kind of a interesting part in our history in that we weren't like engaged or anything, but we also weren't nothing.
Right.
So it was kind of like a weird kind of and for older people, it's different than. When you're in college, it's like, okay, are you seeing people? Are you dating people? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Well, for older people, those...
You're saying we're older?
Well, we're not in our 20s. We're not in our 30s. We're almost... But so anyway, it's just one of those... It's just a different, defining time. And again, everything worked out for the best. From the standpoint that I was not on the reality TV show, and I fell madly in love with you, and I look forward to continuing my.
We could actually have a reality TV show based on our life, and it would probably.
Well, you could probably bring in a crew and just film the day to day of what we're doing.
Of our blended families and
just
businesses and how we balance things.
Just from the standpoint of like, okay, you have a scatterbrain art teacher that's trying to do 1,000 different things and trying to co-parent from 1,000 miles away with all of the drama that's there with two wild children.
Great kids. They're great kids.
They are, but they're not tame, and then you mix that in with two kids that are almost 20 years, 15 years older, and how I navigate that, and then throw in your 3 boys and the antics that they go through on the daily, and the shenanigans and them.
Yeah, I mean, just when your kids were here, like, just to give an example, 4th of July happened here, a month ago. I don't even know what month we're in, but not even a month ago. And they thought it would be funny to take the Bang Pops, this is an annual thing, and line the toilet seats underneath.
Your boys.
Yes, my boys. When his kids were here, my boys every year think that it's funny, and they line the toilet seats with these Bang Pops. So someone sits down the toilet, and then the Bang Pops go off like, wildfire under your ass. And, like, that's some of the shit show things that happen.
But the interesting thing of that particular story was that obviously I don't know that they're necessarily doing that to get me, because I'm not going to, generally speaking, I'm not.
Well, I was
sitting
the
down
only target at first
to do my business, and then so they're targeting you, and I think we come in from the pool, or we come in from the splash pad or the zoo or wherever the heck we were that particular day. We come in, Hank and Etta, and it's like, Etta's got to go to the bathroom, so she sits down on the toilet and bang, 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 and she does her business, and I can smell the sulfur and the smell of the Bang Pop thing, and she's like, I think I broke the toilet. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like,
I mean, that I do like that's fun stuff.
But I mean, it's
can't get you into too much trouble.
Right. I mean, it's harmless. It's harmless. Those are harmless pranks, which is a lot easier to deal with than some of the other items. But
yes.
But it is what it is. Anyway.
Well, that probably wraps it up for this time. It's a little bit early, but I think we, like you said, have covered
all the bases, and if people have things that they want us to discuss or talk about, obviously they can comment down below or send us. There's a million ways to reach us on a million different social media platforms. Choose one, get a hold of us, we'll make it work.
Yeah, we're gonna enjoy some pool time.
There you go. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And like I always say, turn the lights out. The party's over.